Hello there, Star Wars friends. Welcome back to Flying Casual. You're back. We're back after a much-needed little vacay to Alabama. Contrary to popular belief, Holly, not in Australia. Did not realize why some of our friends in the group were, wishing us well on our trip to Australia. And I was like, I don't remember saying we went to Australia.
A Flying Casual down under. Down under.
That was a lot of down under. Yeah. Phrasing.
Michael's the one with the good Australian accent that just sounds more British.
Comes naturally. Phrasing as well. But yeah, so Holly, you want to share why there was a bit of a mix up on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah.
But when I made my post, my phone on
the Telegraph
specifically, the carrier pigeon got turned around.
Yeah.
My cell phone tagged us in Perth, Australia.
Awesome.
I don't know why.
Yeah, me neither. No clue.
Maybe we were there.
Makes a lot of sense now. A lot of people are wishing us well down under. Didn't understand at first. So sorry about that, guys. Just a little time off down in the South with those fine folks from Alabama. Holly, a year later, they still have not learned how to drive, though. I'll say that. Still have not learned how to drive.
I actually am of the opinion that Alabama's not as bad as Massachusetts.
Well, nothing as bad as Massachusetts.
That's correct, Michael.
That's right.
Exactly right.
Exactly. Oh, that's a whole inside thing. Yeah, too many inside jokes here on Flying Casual. Please leave us a 1-star review and let us know. There's too many inside jokes on the podcast.
And too much Australian hate.
Too much hate in Australia. Yeah, just visit the place, damn it.
Alabama hate.
Too much Alabama hate. But we're back. Luke's back. Luke, a little time off on the podcast. How you doing?
I'm just jamming in my head to Men at Work ever since you guys started to talk about Australia.
Let's go.
Yeah, coming from my land down under.
That should be the intro song.
Was that?
Women glow and men plunder.
It's all recorded. We have so many sound bites of Luke that can just go at the beginning or the end of every podcast.
Wait a second.
Every podcast.
I didn't know that was Men at Work.
Well, now you do.
Tis indeed.
The more you know.
Great video. Watch that music video. Fantastic. And I had this great revelation today, or realization may be more correct. My daughter's 19 months old now, and the language is starting to come in bursts. And she just flitters around the house like a little fairy, just sort of spouting off whatever sounds or words come to her wee mind. And I sort of close my eyes and you just listen to her. Mm-hmm. And she sounds exactly like Wicket.
Let's
learning to speak Galactic Basic in Battle for Endor.
Has she been...
Spoiler alert.
There is some basic.
If you haven't watched Battle for Endor. Wicket just starts talking normal. Yeah. And he sounds like a 19-month-old girl listening to, or learning to speak. It's great.
Was she watching it with you while you were reminiscing, or
she has caught snippets of
that's where it came from.
In her life. Oh, my son certainly has. I don't know if I've watched it since she's been alive, but that will change soon.
I can't wait. When she's like 18 years old, just pull up, Caravan of Courage and just say, here's where you learn to speak. She'll be traumatized. I learned English from an Ewok? Well, it's actually basic.
Sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Star
Cruiser. Yeah. Wow. I'm so glad Holly knows what we're talking about now. It's great.
Yeah, now.
It's great. Yeah. Really enjoyed doing a commentary on that. Just glad to have us, back, guys. I forgot how to podcast. Being away for a couple weeks, I totally forgot how to podcast, but we're doing it. A lot of cool things coming to Star Wars fans. We've got the Bad Batch in 2 weeks, and the closer and closer we get, the more and more excited I am for this. So we've got some new Star Wars material to talk about, which is going to be great. Flying Casual here is delving into the High Republic. Luke has read every piece of material. I have finished Light of the Jedi and the Test of Courage. Holly has yet to start.
Wait, you finished the Test of Courage?
Well, I think I've got maybe like 40 pages to go.
So you're not done.
Well, I'm pretty much wrapping it up.
Yeah,
But Holly has found other books apparently too good for Star Wars.
Oh my God. I just discovered
Yeah.
that memoirs are really fun to read.
Yeah.
And so I blew through 2 memoirs. One was I Like You Just the Way I Am by Jenny Mullen. And the other one is the Mindy Kaling book. What is it? Everybody's Hanging Out Without Me and Other Concerns. Both of them were so good so funny. Anyway, so I read those instead of the High Republic books. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, why we could have actually been, drinking up an Audible of like the High Republic, something. We're listening to a Jenny Mullen audiobook, which was freaking hysterical. I'm glad we did on the trip because that was a good time. I actually really enjoyed that.
It was really good.
I was reminded there are other books other than Star Wars books.
That's true.
Just nice. Nice
but we like Star Wars books.
Love Star Wars books.
No, I'm going to start The Light of the Jedi this week.
And you'll be done in 2 days.
Probably.
Yeah.
I have a couple pages left on one of my other books that I want to finish first.
Yeah.
But
well, after this week, you know who I want to write a Star Wars book?
Who?
Jenny Mullins.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She'd be great.
She'd be great. She'd be a great Star Wars author. I'd be super down for that. I feel like we could use more comedy in Star Wars.
Yes.
So, guys, we have new material to talk about here soon, and we're going to be talking about the High Republic here. But recently, we talked about our favorite moments in the Clone Wars. That beautiful masterpiece that is Clone Wars, some of the best of Star Wars. And after that discussion, we thought, why don't we do the same with Rebels? And I'm so glad we did, because thinking back on, was it 4 seasons of Rebels? Mm-hmm. I was thinking about these top moments that we're going to discuss, and I turned to Holly. I said, I think it might be the best Star Wars. It just may be the best Star Wars material that's ever existed. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but it may be. Holly, Rebels is Star Wars for a lot of people.
You don't have to remind me of that. Rebels was the first, obviously I've seen all the movies. Yeah. But Michael forced me to borrow his DVD collection of Rebels years ago.
Yeah. And what did you do?
I gave them back.
Hand them right back.
Didn't want to watch them.
I don't watch cartoons, nerd.
This is so dumb. Yep. But then, when I actually sat down to watch them, oh my God, I became obsessed. I was like an animal. I couldn't stop streaming them. I don't know how anybody survived with just having weekly episode releases.
Yeah, it's tough.
Especially now. But Rebels, definitely one of my favorite things. Rebels is really what made me go from enjoying Star Wars to loving Star Wars. So always has a special place in my heart.
Absolutely. And you asked for a rewatch soon. And then after kind of, looking back on it today, I said, that actually may need to happen.
I asked for a rewatch immediately after I finished watching it.
Had to put a pause on that to consume new material. But I think you're right. It may be time for that. But before we get to that discussion, guys, there's something else that we need to address. Luke, this is a new story to Luke here. He hasn't heard this.
Okay.
So my nephew, intelligent, 7-year-old, I've introduced him to a little bit of Star Wars. He's watched a little Clone Wars with me. It's that, TV Y7 age. We haven't talked about Star Wars, Holly, at this point, months, maybe years with
Probably.
Gavin. I mean, he got into Minecraft and dinosaurs, and so I felt like my window of opportunity was gone. Got Disney Plus, really thought he was going to delve into it, did a little bit, and then we move on to other things. I'm sure like every other kid does. But I was on a FaceTime call after vacation with my family, and my nephew hops on there and says, Uncle Michael, look at this. And he's playing Minecraft on his iPad, and he shows me a scene from The Last Jedi. He shows me AT walkers that he has built on crate. And my jaw dropped, did it not?
It did.
I was
to the floor.
What? And he started listing off the movies that he'd watched. He's struggling with the titles because, who doesn't with that many movies? But I'm just looking at this, and on Minecraft, he's built these walkers. I'm like, dude, how do you even know about these? He's like, Uncle Michael, I know about AT-ATs. And I said, wait, what? Stop. What did you just say? AT-ATs, you know. I was shocked, first of all, because he's creating these, you know, on Minecraft, which is amazing. He could tell you, and he has, you know, everything about Minecraft. In what, maybe an hour and a half, Holly? You think we sat and listened to him talk
probably
about?
Closer to 2 hours.
Yeah, it was a good, lengthy discussion. I had no idea what he was talking about, but he shows me this, and I mean, he's got smoke coming off these things that have been hit by lasers, and it's just, I could not believe what he had created. I was shocked by that, and then shocked that he's calling them AT-ATs, and I thought, where the hell did that come from? Who the hell's been talking to my nephew about Star Wars? Sure the hell isn't my family, because none of them likes my family. Like, they had no idea what he made. That's cool, bunch of robots. Like, they have no idea. And so I was blown away by that he's referring to them as AT or AT-ATs. I'm like, whose parent did you talk to? I just was blown away by that. Holly, you are an AT-AT originalist.
I'm just an AT-AT.
Not a constitutionalist. We need to specify in that sense you're not. But when it comes to Star Wars, you're an AT-AT fan. Where does that come from? Where have you been secretly talking to my nephew?
Well, it's not a secret now.
Oh, shit.
Also, back to your point about, what did you say? I'm an originalist?
An originalist, yeah.
Yes, I believe the blueprints of the AT-ATs should be living documents. But I digress.
Star Wars is an ever-evolving thing, right?
It can always be better.
It's not.
Listen, I put a poll in the group. We had a heated discussion.
Yeah, we need to get to the bottom of this.
Is it AT-AT or AT-AT?
Yeah.
And we are...
It's a generational divide.
But that's what I'm saying. But now we've got freaking young kids calling them AT-ATs. What the hell are we teaching our kids? Holly's doing it.
I've always
I
said
consider her
AT-AT.
a young kid. Now my 7-year-old nephew is calling them AT-ATs. I don't know what the hell is going on here. But Holly, it wasn't necessarily.
Hold on.
What's the results of the poll at this
Hold
point?
on. Let me pull it up.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, phrasing.
Yeah.
My facial recognition on my phone doesn't like to work anymore. I don't know
Wow.
if my face has just changed so much or like.
Wow. Has it?
Listen. Okay. So I put in the group, I said big household debate. What is the correct pronunciation?
Yes.
Is it AT-AT or is it AT-AT?
Yeah.
I, of course, voted AT-AT.
Of course you did, yeah.
But 19 people said it should be AT-AT.
Should be AT-AT.
Or they pronounce it AT-AT.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 7 of us who are true
many.
believers in the AT-AT.
It's too many.
But listen.
It doesn't make any sense.
Brent said AT-AT is correct, but it will not stop me from saying AT-AT.
At least he realizes the errors of his ways.
In my experience, it's the original trilogy generation I found uses AT-AT more.
Yeah.
And then I found the prequel generation, which I certainly count myself in as more of the AT-AT vibe.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's how it broke down in the poll or not.
I mean, there's some strong feelings about it. A lot of people are kind of stuck in their ways. I think as Star Wars has expanded and you get new weaponry and stuff, and you have AT-STs come in and these smaller kind of scout walkers, then you ask yourself, how would you pronounce that? And Holly, you know,
I enlightened everybody.
You enlightened it. How would you pronounce that?
Atst.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. So
look, if we can say things like
Yeah.
st, we can say at.
You're at.
No, but Nettie was like, sorry, but at just doesn't sound very intimidating. It could.
It really doesn't. I think when the Empire's
could.
building these things, I don't think that's what they were thinking.
Whatever.
Anyway. No, you're right. Well, I think we've put that issue to rest then. I have to figure out where the hell my nephew heard this.
Yeah.
It wasn't from any of us. I don't call them that unless, like I said, Holly's talking to him offline somewhere. He's had to talk to someone's grandparent or something.
Listen,
I
rewarded him last night for calling it an AT-AT.
Wrongfully, but you did. I'm just shocked, and I love that he's doing that. And I'm like, did you watch The Last Jedi? I have no idea why you aren't watching all of Clone Wars first, but
yeah, there are some cool things that kids do on Minecraft, though. They get very creative.
Oh,
I think that a lot of times people are like, ugh, they're just sitting around rotting their brains playing video games. But I mean, they really are creating things. It's art. They have to use critical thinking in a lot of these activities. I'm not like saying put your kid on an iPad for 16 hours a day. I don't think that's right. But I mean, I think there's a lot of creative value to it.
Absolutely.
And Minecraft.
Yeah. He's doing things that blow my mind on there. And just listening to the kid talk about it, he loves it. And we've all been there with things, I'm sure. So I just thought that was fascinating. I could not believe it. I was stunned. So I will resume my quest to just really enlighten my nephew of Star Wars and get him back on the right path with it. This whole AT-AT shenanigans has gone too far. So we'll update there. So let's get into it, guys. Rebels, like I said, could be one of the best Star Wars stories ever told. And when I hit you guys up and I said, let's do some top moments of Rebels, I said, give me 3. I realized that's a real problem. That's a huge problem because there's really big moments. There's way more than 3 big moments. But I feel like that's one of those things that we do with Star Wars. Like, give me your favorite. Give me 3, and we'll have some honorable mentions. There's no way we can't not talk about some of these things that may not have made it into a top 3 moments. But what we're going to do, we're going to go around the horn. Each of us are going to give one from our list, and we can talk about it. And then once we kind of wrap up everyone's 3, talk about those honorable mentions. So, Holly, I'm fascinated. You wouldn't let me look at your list. So I'm actually really curious to see what about Rebels, what you like, what really stuck with you. Because a lot of people, I think, that have experienced, the Clone Wars, like really in depth, or even, the original Star Wars saga, may have different moments, but someone who, appreciated Star Wars, like you said, but then comes into the story about this crew, you may remember things differently or find more value in other things than maybe myself. So I'm really interested to see specifically what you have to say. So let's start with one of your top 3 moments.
Okay.
And I hope it's Purgles.
It's actually not.
Oh, okay.
First of all, I couldn't pick a moment from this episode, so I kind of made the whole episode one of my top 3 moments. Okay. I don't know if that's fair or not.
Absolutely fair, yeah.
I always really liked Callus, and Michael always tried to throw me off and be like, no, he's so terrible. He's so awful. And I'd be like, but I kind of like him.
I think it's something about the chops, maybe. I don't know, but he seems like he could be a really great dad. No, you were seeing through all of the things that they were throwing at you to try to deceive you, but you saw the light in Callus from the very beginning.
So
I have to try to throw you off.
I know. Well, it didn't work. And then I felt very vindicated. Okay. Anyway, so one of the top moments that comes to mind when I think of Rebels is there's an episode of season 2 called The Honorable Ones, and it's when Zeb and Callus get stuck on that ice moon on Geonosis.
Yeah.
And they work together and they come to an understanding, and they're able to work through all of their differences to get themselves out of where they are. Well, I mean, kind of, we know the ghost comes in and takes Zeb. But my point being, I thought that was a really great message. Mm-hmm. It kind of solidified my feelings for Callus, saying that I liked him.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's just something about that episode. It was so different than some of the other ones. I feel like Zeb doesn't really get a lot.
Yes.
But he's such a great character. And I don't know.
You're right.
So when I think about Rebels and things that I really appreciate about it, that episode comes to mind because I just think it's a really great way to kind of say, within reason, it is important to get to know people. Obviously, I'm not saying that we're going to give the Empire a free ride.
Yeah.
For all of their problems that they have, but I don't know. I really like that moment a lot.
Yeah, there may be an unlikely ally across the line, and they never would have known that had they not been put in this precarious situation. And you're right, though. Zeb needed some depth, and in that moment, you really start, past kind of the grunny, just the mean guy that jokes a lot and picks on Ezra. We really saw some depth there and how relatable those two actually were from very different backgrounds, very different circumstances.
And also that they had something in common.
They did.
So
very much. Luke, I saw you nod on that one. Is that one that you share as well, or is it more of an honorable mention?
I didn't necessarily put it on my list, but it's definitely a highlight episode of the series. Yeah. I think almost anyone who's seen the series, if you start talking with them and they want to pull out moments or episodes that are memorable and meaningful, it's up there, I think, on most people's lists.
Definitely. Yeah. What a great, I love that you pulled that. I did not see that as one, but you're right. That is a memorable moment that just, how often do we get, hero versus enemy kind of coming together in an unlikely circumstance, and it's not like they turn callous there, right? Like, but it was just like a little flicker of light, like you're gonna remember this. Callous is gonna remember back, like I owe you, or you owe me, or there's just some camaraderie there that was unexpected, which just, I don't know.
And that's kind of like Star Wars, right? It's always like an unlikely group of people coming together to get shit done.
Yeah. I think that is actually the slogan on StarWars.com. we're
coming together to get shit done.
Yeah.
TM.
I think that's on, we're trademarking it if they have it. Okay. Flying Casual.
Would it be a trademark? I think we need an attorney. I don't know if it would be a trademark or a copyright.
I think it would be a trademark.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Taylor Swift has it trademarked already. I don't know.
She has everything copywritten.
Who knows? But Luke, what about you? What's one of your top Rebels moments?
So I treated this as like a free association exercise, basically, when you sent it to me, and I just had to let the Force flow through me and let whatever came up and go with that. And I'll be a little surprised if this moment stands out to either of you or many people out there, not because I'm cool, but just because it's weird. It's obscure, but every time I think of the series, I can't help but think of this moment. It's in season 3 episode called Iron Squadron. It's the one, if you recall, where there's this one rebel cell that just has this one freighter, and they're kind of harassing the Imperials at this one planet. And they go, the Ghost crew goes to check it out, and it turns out it's just like a handful of teenagers on this ship, and they don't really know what they're doing. And it's not really integral to the overall plot of the show. The one guy does end up like in the series finale, but the moment where they need the ship's hyperdrive is broken, so they're harassing the Imperials here, but they can't ever really get away. So they're in this really precarious situation. And Sabine and Chopper and Ezra are there, and they're like, well, Sabine and Chopper are like, oh, we can help you fix the hyperdrive. And there's this other astromech droid there that's part of their group. And him and this other astromech and Chopper kind of butt heads. But there's a moment where they're like, okay, we need to fix the hyperdrive. And it's just a few seconds shot, and they show Sabine's at a console, like typing things in. Yeah. And then the other astromech has like a little spark thing, and it's, sparking stuff.
Yeah.
Chopper rolls up in his pincher claw. He just has a hammer, and he starts whacking the thing. And it's only like it's a few seconds of this kind of obscure episode, but I can't help but think of it.
Yeah.
Every time I think of the show, it just to me like was a perfect Chopper moment, and I'll always remember it. I don't know if it rings any bells for either of you.
No.
It's so funny because I actually was going to say, can I guess what Luke's number one moment was? I wouldn't know specifically, but I was willing to bet it had to do with Chopper.
Big droid
fan. Hands down. He's a huge droid fan.
I feel like I now have an idea of what another one of his is as well. Luke tends to show his cards when it comes to favorite moments, and they involve droids a lot, and I love it.
That's actually funny because I very distinctly remember that episode, but I do not remember that moment with Chopper in it.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. I definitely remember the kid, the cocky pilot kid and all that. But yeah, wow, Luke, threw me a curveball there. Oh, that's so good.
I love that.
I something I struggled with when thinking of these so many people have gone through these things and just been like, these are the top moments, and they're such epic moments. And some of my favorite moments, I almost feel bad in calling them my favorite moments because a lot of times they don't involve the actual like ghost crew who were following along this entire time. But somehow Dave Filoni has woven these other characters in here and created moments that will define Star Wars for the rest, of its existence. I don't know how he's done it, but and that's not to take away from the Ghost Crew or anything. I have a lot of honorable mentions for them. But we talk about this all the time, but I thought the Obi-Wan and Maul confrontation is one of the coolest things, and unexpected. And it's not even so much the fight. I know everyone goes into detail Maul is using this stance or whatever, and it's quick and it's masterful, and that's great. For me, it is the compassion of Obi-Wan Kenobi in that moment and all the shit that he's been through. This villain who's been hunting him down his entire life pretty much. He just holds him and shows him compassion, just like he did, his master, just like he did Satine. He held him just like that. And it just blows me away. And, I mean, Maul's kind of revelation in that moment, I don't want to call it, that he's, turned to the light or something, but something changed in him seeing that from Obi-Wan Kenobi. And, yeah, he still wants vengeance, but, has nothing to do with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he realizes that in that moment, that compassion that Obi-Wan showed. That is such a... And it also shows the mastery, not the skills of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but that he is a true Jedi master in that moment. That it truly was, it just like compassion is the way of the Jedi. And he is really the one who ultimately nailed that down and is redefining what a Jedi should mean for the future. It's just a stunning moment. I was not expecting it at all. We've gotten so many Maul and Obi-Wan confrontations, but I could not believe they brought that into Rebels, and it worked. It worked. It is a teaching moment for Ezra. It was, the end of Maul. It just, it really showed the true evil in the galaxy was the Emperor. And Maul was just a little misguided, and I think he realized kind of the errors of his ways. The
tragedy of Maul.
Maul. It is, and it's just Obi-Wan isn't the one that you were so misguided in that hatred, and it wasn't Obi-Wan that you should have directed that towards. It was another. It's just an amazing moment. I know a lot of people feel that way. I cannot believe they brought that into Rebels. Luke, is there anything about that moment there on Tatooine? We see a young Luke too. I think Maul says will he avenge us, or he will avenge us all. It's what? What do you ever think about that moment when you think of Rebels?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's one of the most powerful moments of the series, and kind of a detour in the story that you end up there. But I think there's several moments in the series when you start to think about them that I hope sort of are captured in a way in the new Kenobi series, not as sort of direct copies, but just Rebels got some of these characters so right.
Yeah, exactly.
And showed them in such profound moments that I hope that they capture the same sort of spirit in types of moments in the Kenobi series, and I'll probably talk about one later on my list. But this is one that just shows the creators of this show, Filoni largely, and the others that worked on it. They brought all the history of Obi-Wan into that moment, and Maul's history as well. All that we know that they've been through, and like you said, I love the mirror of Obi-Wan's held people in this exact moment. Before people struck down by a lightsaber who were meant or something meaningful to him, and Maul as an adversary is still something meaningful to him, and that those same moments he had with Qui-Gon and Satine and Maul, that sort of reflection, a repeated reflection of those moments is really interesting and powerful.
So unexpected. Holly, huge Maul fan.
I'm a big Maul fan, yeah.
Though it's his demise. I mean, when you watched it for the first time,
and then again,
I feel like you may be welling up right now. Are you getting a little emotional thinking
about it? It was
about
actually a super emotional scene because I think something that is not like nervous. I'm not like nervous about the Obi-Wan show. I'm very excited for it. For me personally, something that makes me a little bit nervous is just like having to like see Obi-Wan in this like lonely state of mind.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's just like very heartbreaking for me. But I loved what you said about how this scene with Mom, this confrontation that they have. I actually had this one on my list too. So I was prepared.
Cross it off.
But how Maul is like berating him about like, you coward, like you're here on this, in this desert by yourself. He
Holly.
He calls him like a little rat on Tatooine or something like that. And he's like, look how low you've sunk.
Yeah.
And then what you were saying about how Obi-Wan has really grown and learned so much. Obi-Wan literally says to him, look how high I've risen.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was amazing.
Let's go. Look how high I've risen.
And it's like the growth that you don't see him go through in that moment, but you can just imagine he's a very different Obi-Wan than we saw before.
Absolutely right.
And I don't know. Anyway, I had that on my list too. I just thought that was such a fantastic moment. I think we watched that episode. Yeah. I think we rewound it and I made you play it again.
Absolutely. I love that you brought up the initial conversation they're having. It's on Tatooine. Like Luke said, it is kind of a detour, but like, boy, what a moment. They're around this campfire, just like Maul covers the fire with dirt. And I had actually forgotten a lot of the dialogue. I'm glad you brought that up. Of just look what I've risen, and referring to Satine, things that Maul doesn't. Well, he does a lot of it. I mean, he's killed. He's killed his could have been lover, and his master. So he's been there for a lot of it. But there's things that he still doesn't even know that Obi-Wan's overcome. And look what I've overcome. You have all this hatred for me, for what the wrongs you think I've done to you, but like I've risen above any sort of hatred that could have come from all that you've taken from me. Yeah, I'm here on this lonely planet, but I serve a bigger purpose. Mm-hmm. And we didn't see, like Obi-Wan didn't fully understand at the end of Revenge, like, what are we doing? Like, we're gonna split these kids up, but like, what's? And we see that in a little bit of the from a certain point of view stories, and even the comics. Like, he's still just, what is my purpose here? And I love that you're saying this Kenobi series is prime for us seeing that transition. We've seen the confused, what am I doing here? What purpose do I serve? And then we've seen the master, and we're going to see how he got there. And it's going to be so freaking emotional, and I can't wait for it.
I know.
Oh, my God. Please make it gorgeous and amazing. I cannot wait for it. So sorry to take up a lot of time there, but it's just what a defining moment in Star Wars. Holly, we've crossed off the Maul Kenobi confrontation, but you got two more.
Well, good thing I actually wrote down five things.
Hey,
but I don't have to say them all.
That's okay.
Well, if it's my turn again,
yes,
I did kind of what Luke did, where because I was in Michael's office earlier, and he was like, I was like, what are we going to talk about? And he's like, I think we're going to have to talk about our favorite Rebels moments. I was like, well, I'm going to have to rewatch it. I can't think of any. And then I listed like 7. And I was like, okay.
Seconds after you said, like, it wasn't like you went away and like you literally off the top of your head just started writing. I'm like, see, that wasn't hard because I knew this would just come to you. Like Clone Wars, like you don't have that relationship with it.
I do not.
But I knew Rebels would just come to you.
We talk about this moment on the podcast all of the time.
Let's go.
Other than the Callus one I just brought up, whenever I think about Rebels, like this immediately pops into my head. I don't even remember exactly what episode it is. I think that it's towards the end of the series when they're digging up the world between worlds. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong. And Thrawn is there overseeing everything, right? Mm-hmm. And he sees Ezra trying to hide and like scurry around, trying to, you know what I'm talking about? And he's like, I think this is the scene. I could be wrong. Someone correct me. And he's just watching him, and he just goes, fascinating. And I don't know why this is the funniest Thrawn line to me ever.
Yeah.
I think that I quoted that. Michael probably got so sick of it because I would say that all the time.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was such a great Thrawn moment because to me that like really summed up his character in this show where he just kind of let things play out and then he waited to see how he could kind of take advantage of it.
Yeah.
He does that throughout the entire show and he was like, if this is the scene that I'm thinking about, I don't remember if that's exactly what was happening, but he just like, he sees things that are going to interrupt his plan and he's like, I'm just going to let it happen and see what happens.
Well, and there's so much potential for those two as well. So he is genuinely intrigued when he says fascinating. Yeah, Ezra's rolling around doing some stupid shit, but like it's almost as if he's looking to the future and saying he could be a useful ally. Like, because Thrawn has other intentions. If you're reading the Thrawn books, his home, number one. You know, the Empire is definitely comes after his home world. So, and that could be fascinating in an Ahsoka series or wherever we're going to get the Thrawn Ezra happenings. Could they be allies? Could he just, this force that he's seeing? I don't know how much of the force Thrawn really saw before much of this. He had some encounters with some folks.
I don't think much.
Yeah, I mean, he ran into Anakin of God. It feels like a dozen times in the new Thrawn books. I'm sure it's only a couple, but yeah. So it's a mystery to him. The Chiss don't really see the force in that way, and so I think he's thinking of the future in that moment. He is intrigued by him. Luke, are we grasping at straws here? I mean, it's a very comical moment, but I think Thrawn is thinking about this kid and being like, I sense something here.
Yeah, I'm having trouble placing the exact moment. Like I know it happened exactly how you said.
Droids,
but there's sort of a lot of moments like Holly was saying similar to that where he, rather than like any other Imperial, would just be like, get that guy, fire now, go. He kind of was like, hey, let me check this out for a minute. So that there are so many moments like that where he has a one-liner, fascinating,
I love it,
or intriguing, or,
I love it even more.
Yeah.
What am I gonna make of this? So definitely very emblematic of the character in the show.
Yeah, I mean, he's learning. This is a kid who is from Lothal, like the home world that they are occupying, and seeing this kid fighting for his world when not a lot of people are is intriguing to him. Like he's done that for his own people. So I think there's I don't know if it's sympathy, but an understanding of what Ezra is there to accomplish. So I can't wait to see how. I think this relationship is going to be so unexpected. I think they're going to do some interesting things with Thrawn. I don't think Thrawn is going to be this villain that everyone's making him out to be. He is way too complicated after everything that happens to just say, I stick by the Empire. Hell no. He has other intentions, and he tends to bring out the best in people. I'm looking at you. What? Oh, God, I forget his name. God, what's his name?
I'm looking at you, random guy.
The old hillbilly guy from the
Eli
Vanto. Oh, he's like, who the hell's that?
No, yes.
He's a hillbilly, and it's great. We never would have known that if we wouldn't listen to the audiobook. But he just tends to bring out the best in people and challenge them. And I'm just like, what is in store for these two? I think it's going to be something unexpected, and I can't wait. I don't necessarily want it in an Ahsoka series, but I understand.
No, it has to be its own thing.
I don't think it's going to be.
Oh, I don't.
I know, but I think, she's out looking for Ezra. It makes sense, but yeah, so I love that, Holly. I love these little obscure moments you guys are bringing up. It's freaking great. Luke, I sense your second involves a protocol droid.
Oh, it's a good guess. It's a good guess. There is a common theme with my next one. It involves a certain orange-headed droid. Again, I'm a sucker for Chopper, unabashedly so. And but this, rather than a comical moment with him, which is what it's sort of known for. It's in the big spoiler alert in the episode surrounding Kanan's death, which don't even think of this show as an animated show versus live action versus whatever you want to watch. This series does some drama, I think, better than dozens and dozens of drama shows on TV out there. In the episode of Kanan's death, and sort of the immediate aftermath, are so powerful and so well done. I get the shivers and choked up every time I watch it. And I watched some clips to kind of get ready for this discussion. As I thought of moments, I was like, "Oh, let me go watch that moment." And every time, I don't know how many times I've seen it, but it's still so powerful. But that episode ends with Kanan's death. Is sort of that happens, and then the episode ends. Then the next episode, you start to see the aftermath, and it's called Doom for his original last name of Caleb Doom. And it's they do that mission at night where he ends up dying, and then they get back to their base sort of as the sun is rising for the next morning. And Zeb wasn't there, so they had to break the news to Zeb. And then Hera just kind of wanders away from the group, and she's looking at the sunrise, I think back towards where the city was, where they just had come from. And she's just kind of staring at the sunrise, and she's starting to like cry and get, and Chopper just rolls up next to her, and with his little pincher hand, he just gently strolls up to her and holds her hand, and they both look out at the sunset together. And it's ridiculous, but I'm going to cry like right now talking about it. It's so well done, and it's this orange-headed, goofy droid and a green, tentacled-headed alien lady on a cartoon on the Disney Channel, and it's so damn good.
It is.
It's so good.
And it's great because, like, that is such a great scene, and it's not just the writing. Like, the writing is phenomenal, but in that scene, there were no words. It was all the team that put together the images and just, like, the music. And I just, like, I don't know. Everyone who was involved with making this show did such a phenomenal job. But the fact that they could bring so much emotion out of a scene that didn't even have any dialogue in that moment was, like... And they do that a couple times throughout the series, too. It's just, like, really fantastic the way that they're able to do that, because they get you invested in these characters. Only 4 seasons. Yeah. And we just feel like we know them. They're like family.
And Chopper, like everyone else in the crew, has kind of this hard exterior,
Literally.
Yeah, he has a very hard exterior. And they don't often let their guard down. Even Hera and Kanan, who had, some interest there, they didn't let it down often. But Chopper's just like them, he's always causing ruckus, giving Ezra and Zeb a hard time. But those moments are where it shows you they're a family. Even the flippin' droid is having a moment, and you don't understand a thing Chopper says. And so many Star Wars books that we've read, they always talk about how droids, like in a test of courage, they're saying, no, this droid isn't supposed to have these, she's having these feelings, and she's giving this advice that droids aren't supposed to do. But there's certain droids that we get in these stories that just show compassion. They almost are these sentient beings, which is why I think one day in Star Wars we're going to get a rise of the machines, and they are going to literally fight back. But you're right, Luke. That is such a good moment, and they play on that moment. So many moments that, like, Caleb had meditating, in front of the sunrise and out kind of alone on Lothal, and or she, Hera would come up to him or whatever, but just kind of like, he's not here anymore. It's just me. And Chopper saying, you're not alone. We are a family. It's hard a time I give you. Like, we're here. We got you. It's freaking crazy.
Thanks, guys. That's probably all the emotional energy I have for this episode.
Machines make it, and that is the creators, like, telling a story through these machines. It's incredible. I cannot think of any other franchise, any other story to where they make these robots such a big part of the story and can show so much emotion and really elicit it from you as the viewer. That is not a normal thing. It's something special. Boy. But another.
Yeah, that was a really good one. As soon as Luke started talking about that, I was like, here we go.
So I had one that was kind of tied with a moment. We already talked about Kanan's sacrifice a little bit. That's something in my throat. I'm not emotional at all.
I think you're emotional.
We all know, we talked about Kanan's sacrifice in the moment, the music, him, seeing Hera in that last moment. Like, hey, we've gone over it a million times. It's great. It's one of my top moments, but we've gone over it so many times. I'm going to pull an audible. And I want to talk about Sabine and her little training sequence with Kanan.
Yeah.
This was a game changer for me for Sabine. And a huge part of her story and what she becomes. Like, Sabine was cool. Like, she was kind of expressive in that she, would tag things and she was an artist and she had that kind of thick exterior, but like we never really tapped into like what's really going on with Sabine until that episode. And I think a large part of that, I'm going to probably butcher her name, but who did the voice? Tia Sarkars? I don't know if I did that right. Her acting in this moment was nothing touches it. I think of all of Rebels, at least, like the emotion that came out and her voice acting there was, we never saw that from Sabine before. We never saw it again after. But just I don't even know exactly what she says, but she talks about her history with, being a part of the Empire and the weaponry that she was creating. But the music and her reaction is just something that hasn't been replicated, I don't think, in the entire series. So I thought that was one of the best moments, and it really made me like her more. I don't know. I never really had an attachment to her before then, but like, okay, here's some history. Okay, we're going to start getting to her Mandalore history and all that. And she's going to have to really deal with some ghosts, some bones in her closet with her family and what she's done and what it's cost her and what it's going to cost her. Like, it's just an incredible moment. And it really also shows Kanan's kind of like, not his mastery, but he is the teacher. And it really shows a lot about him. This isn't a Jedi that he's training who's had formal training. This is just his family. But he's really pulling it out of her in that moment. I don't know. Holly, you seem touched by that moment as well. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I like that.
Do you need a moment?
No.
Do we need a pause?
No. Okay. I like that moment a lot. That didn't make my list of moments that I really liked, but I did think about that today when I was making my list because it was kind of connected to another moment, which was Kanan's interactions with the Bendu.
Ooh, yeah.
But I just thought for her and Kanan, that was a huge moment for very different reasons. But I think it was important for Sabine to kind of break out of that because she had kind of walled herself off and was like, I'm not going to be vulnerable. I did this terrible thing. I'm going to punish myself, even though in actuality, it wasn't really her fault. All the weapons that she helped build that were then used to, I don't know, destroy her planet. But I think that she really had to like physically get that out of her system for her to forgive herself and then move on. And I thought that was done really beautifully with having Kanan teach her how to do that when she doesn't have the Force. She's not wielding a lightsaber, which he makes very clear to her. That's not the important thing. Yeah. Anybody can hold a lightsaber. Mm-hmm. And she's using a dark saber, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, that was very symbolic in itself. But I just thought that was really big for him to like move on to being able to teach and go again because he just lost his sight. Mm-hmm. And then he helps Sabine in such a monumental way for her growth in the show and just in general as a person. I just thought it was really beautifully written.
Isn't it crazy that, like, yeah, this is a fictional story, whatever, but, like, that they didn't have these moments before, right? Like, it was all these trials that they went through bringing in Ezra that's really challenged all of them. As annoying of a little brat he is, I mean, they just sparked a moment to where we really start getting, this crew's been together for a while. Like, they've dealt with any of this shit. And this kid comes along and it's just like, wow, okay, shit's getting real. But it's just, what a cool moment. Luke, what did you like about that moment?
Oh, again, a fantastic moment that I can't believe slipped my mind when I was starting to think of things, but absolutely one of the top moments in the whole series. When you talk about Tia's performance, and I think I don't know how much you two have watched the Rebel Recon behind the scene, like 6-minute or so videos that they made for every single episode. If you've never seen them, anyone out there who loves the show, I really would recommend going and watching them. Really great behind the scenes stuff for every episode, hosted by what's her name from the old Star Wars YouTube show.
Andy? Did she host them?
No, the gal with the dark sort of curly hair. Something Gutierrez. I can't believe I'm missing her name.
Yeah, is it Andy Gutierrez, isn't it? Andy? Was it Andy?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Anyways, I got all sidetracked with that one. But yeah, go see the Rebels Recon, and I think they show for the voice recording of these scenes. They show, you watch Tia perform it into the microphone with like Filoni there, directing, and it's amazing. Like, I think she gets really emotional and like has to recover from acting the scene after doing it. And another moment, again, I say, put this up against any drama you want. And this scene will beat all sorts of quote unquote drama shows out there. It amazingly well done. You feel, she's delivering the lines in between strikes of the light of the Darksaber, and like the rhythm of the line delivery and the emotion that's building up inside of her sort of with each strike. It is just another powerful moment that this series, it just delivers over and over again.
It absolutely does. It's great too, because like when you look at The Mandalorian, like Pedro Pascal got like a lot of love, and people were like talking about like his behind the scenes stuff. He's like holding the pillow, like he's holding a little baby, and that's awesome. But he's a pretty well known guy at that point. But like these other voice actors from the show, I mean, let it all hang out. I know Sam Witwer's a little more well known, but when he screams Kenobi and like has these moments, when you watch this behind the scenes stuff, it is priceless. These guys are in the moment, and it's just, boy, chills galore. But it meant so much to me because, like I said, I didn't really have a huge connection with Sabine. I thought she was awesome, but I also wasn't a huge fan of like the Mandalorians at that time. And I think her development and Rebels really opened me up to, okay, let's learn more about this. Like, this is a little more complex than I realized. That was really a taking off point for me where I really started to appreciate it more. And that is a testament to her and the choices she made and how she overcome those. And then you think, oh my God, she's going to lead Mandalore. And then she sidetracks. She says, not so fast. This isn't for me. And you're like, wait, what? Okay. So Sabine's got a bigger purpose. And I think we're even going to find that out later on, maybe in an Ahsoka series. That would be freaking awesome. Holly. Another moment.
Okay.
Let's go wipe away the tears. Let's reset. Some funny moments. No,
not a funny moment.
Never funny moments.
I mean, there are really funny moments.
Really great moments. Yeah.
But this is not one of them.
Okay.
I kind of brought this up earlier a couple times, and then when we were just talking about Sabine, but I really love the interactions that Kanan has with the Bendu.
Yeah.
But in particular, I also really like Thrawn. So seeing Thrawn and the Bendu together was kind of cool, but I really liked it when Kanan really pisses off the Bendu, and so he like unleashes that storm.
Yeah.
And Thrawn doesn't know what it is and he doesn't know what to do with it. And he literally is like, what kind of Jedi devilry is this? Because he doesn't understand the Force. And it still is legendary. Things of legends to them at the time. And I don't know. For some reason, that kind of like sticks out in my mind too.
Yeah.
I just, especially then he has that moment with the Bendu after where the Bendu kind of like prophesizes what happens later with Thrawn and Ezra, but nobody would understand what that meant.
Yeah.
I don't know. It came full circle.
The Bendu's freaking cool.
The Bendu is so freaking cool.
And I feel like it's blossomed other ideas of these creatures or species that are in tune with the Force, but it just shows us this galaxy is bigger than the Jedi and the Sith, or the Jedi versus the Empire, the Rebels. It's bigger than that, and the Bendu knows it. To him, what's going on is kind of trivial, and he can just create a storm and kill everyone if he wants to. But it's like it's bigger than that, but that's what keeps it so interesting. Yeah, that it's more complicated than just learning these ways of the Jedi, and you're this Force user. There's other things out there,
and also like everything with the Jedi and the Sith, like everybody wants it to be so black and white, and it's not. And the Bendu is there because he literally is like, I'm right in between, but I also don't take sides. Yeah. So I will counsel you. Yeah. I will also counsel a Sith. Yeah. You know, and he understands everything, but he doesn't. He's like, I'm not getting involved with this war. And that's when like him and Kanan have that big blow up because Kanan calls him a coward. He didn't like that.
Take a side.
Big words.
Yeah. He reminds me of the Iowebish Bog.
That's just
another character that we see that has, you know, it's this mystical being that we don't really know where they lie. They could just probably kill everyone, but they don't. So like this all seems kind of trivial to them. Luke, a Bendu fan, no robotics on this fella, but what's memorable about
all natural?
What's memorable about those interactions? I mean, he kind of seems like he's there when you need him, right? Like there's times where they went and sought him and he wasn't there, you know, but then he appears.
And there's Holly was the only one who could pull this one of the three of us, because clearly the Bendu is an ancient Force moose.
Yes,
it does look like
it's her main heritage that draws her connection to the Bendu. But no, if you ask like, okay, what's the best season of Rebels, and I have to answer it, I have a hard time, like between season 2 and season 4, parsing that out. But then there is all this cool stuff in season 3. We already talked about the Maul Kenobi showdown happens in season 3. And then the Bendu is littered throughout season 3. And this you know, really mysterious character, unlike most things we've seen, because like you already mentioned, he's not on, you know, sort of the good or the bad side. So he serves as a really unique role. And he comes to Kanan at this moment where Kanan's at really one of his lowest points in terms of the fallout from his blinding by Maul at the end of season 2, and sort of rediscovering what his purpose and role is with this new impairment, and what does he still sort of mean to the team and the cause, and just sort of refinding his purpose. And I think the Bendu's counseling in a way helps him figure some of those things out. So a really unique character to bring into the fold at that moment to serve that purpose. I think maybe a lot of people's not so favorite thing, but I think if you give it another shot, I think over time, more and more you see it, and you'll appreciate this character more.
Absolutely. And what a testament to where Kanan is in this moment, that he's willing to listen to this creature who he can't even see. And I think he may even tell him, like, you can see. Like, Kanan's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
like,
he does. I was trying to find what that quote was, because that's like what I was thinking about, but I couldn't find that quote and I didn't have time to watch it. Yeah. But he does tell him that he has to like use the Force. The Force will be his sight or guide him. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was a great moment, but
honestly, like at that point, it felt like Kanan and this is the trials that he's going through to really seemingly become a master in this moment, that he is trusting. That's distracting. Chewie's making a bed right now. It shakes everything. He's really trusting the Force in this moment. What else do I have? We learn from people who have such impairments that other senses tend to be heightened and out of just your body's response to this trauma. But he really trusts in the Force in this moment. Sometimes I wonder if the Bendu even actually existed. I don't know if that was the Force manifesting there and that's what he needed in this moment in the universe. I don't know. But that speaks to him. There's spiders all around him, which I would probably just drop dead in that moment if I were blind, and maybe I would be willing to trust anybody at that point too. But like the wisdom that he gives him, he is essentially just telling him to trust the Force, and that's something that Kanan was not really masterful at that moment. Nope. He was too dependent on his sight and what was there before him. He wasn't really able to sense all that was around him and feed off that energy. And it's just from that point, it was a different Kanan. It was a different Kanan, and then like you pretty much have been seeing all along, and that's what his death, when his eyes kind of cleared, that's kind of what it meant to me. Like you're seeing Hera now as you always have. Like I don't know, it was a great moment, and the Bendu played a part in that. We don't even know exactly what the hell he is, other than a moose impersonator.
I also did, when I was trying to find that specific quote that he says to Kanan, to kind of be like, you have kind of handicapped yourself by only relying on your physical senses. Yeah. I found something interesting that I didn't know, where Dave Filoni tweeted back in 2017. He tweeted and said, "It just occurred to me that I never got to tell you all the story of the time the Bendu met Ahsoka Tano."
Thanks, Dave. Just some fun facts on Twitter.
I don't know. I didn't know this. I'm sure that you guys already knew all this, but then he said, "It was a brief encounter which took place around the end of the episode The Mystery of Chopper Base from Season 2, just before Ahsoka, Kanan, and Ezra left on their fateful mission to Malachor. Of their conversation, you might find this dialogue to be the most interesting, and it's between the Bendu and Ahsoka. And it goes like this. The Bendu says to Ahsoka, 'You are set on this confrontation then.' They're talking about her confronting Darth Vader. Yeah. And she says, 'I have to know the truth.' Yeah. Bendu says, 'So be it, but understand this. Much will change as a result of this encounter, including you.' And she says, 'Isn't that true of all things as time advances?' And he says, 'My dear, when I say change, I mean death.'
Oh,
and
yeah.
And
chills.
She says, 'So I will die.' And he says, 'Will you? I didn't know that. Goodbye then, Ahsoka Tano, former Jedi Knight.' And he disappears.
That's freaking great.
I would have killed to have seen a scene with that playing out.
Yeah, it's almost better knowing after, though, because
I know.
We would probably went into that conversation with so many expectations, but knowing that they had that conversation and that the Bendu is somewhat like the Eye of Webbish Bog. It's just kind of riddles. Like, I didn't say
he's like a gatekeeper of the secrets of the Force. But he's not actually gatekeeping because he's sharing it with people. People just aren't asking.
He's like, this isn't Star Wars. I'm an originalist. I'm the Bendu.
I just thought I thought all of the Bendu stuff is cool. Yeah. But then when I learned about that scene between him and Ahsoka, I thought that was pretty awesome.
That's freaking awesome. I mean, will the Bendu make appearances later on? I sure
hope
so.
That's like the thing. It's like, so Thrawn shot him down with his ship and then had this conversation with him, and then he kind of dissipates, right? Yeah. So is he dead and he just went into the Force?
No.
But he laughs when he does it.
That's what I'm saying. It's all trivial to him.
Yeah.
You die. I mean, I didn't say that. It's nothing to me. I'm just seeing, parts of the future, and you asked me questions. I give you answers. I don't know. And then he, Thrawn shoots him with a pistol. You think that's going to kill the Bendu?
It's it's too bad that he didn't want to get involved, because it just shows, You cannot hide from the Empire.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we'll get a Disney Plus series on the Bendu, and we just learn about his life in the rocks.
That actually would be like a really cute. They do those like little minis for kids, and they're like kind of adorable. I think one with the Bendu. I would love to see a little baby Bendu.
The roly poly ones, like you make the Bendu a roly poly one.
I don't know.
Kids would be like, "What? This round rock is giving me sage advice on the future."
Look like some sort of demon creature.
Probably.
I mean, he kind of does.
But Luke's right though. He looks like a moose. lot of main, inspiration in that design.
I just really like the Bendu. Anyway, guys, fair. I just hijacked most of this with my.
No, that was. I love that you shared that. That was freaking great. Are we on Luke now?
Yeah.
Luke. A final moment before we get into some honorable mentions.
Yeah, what Holly brought up with the Bendu and Ahsoka is a good segue into mine. I'm going to cheat a little bit. It's not so much a moment, but sort of two moments that are somewhat of bookends. Ahsoka's reveal, I think it's at the very end of season 1, when she comes down the ladder. On the Ghost it is, I think, or on that other Rebel ship that they're meeting on. And while I came to Rebels slightly late, I got to binge it for a while and caught up to the point where I watched the end of season 3 and season 4 as they happened. But luckily, even though I'd come to it a little late and I was watching seasons 1 and 2 and most of 3, a little bit after they had been out, I luckily didn't know about Ahsoka's involvement in this series, so I just had this wonderful moment that I think a lot of people had who even watched it as it aired, to see her show up. And it was just this triumphant moment as a fan of the Clone Wars and the love that grew for that character amongst so many fans, and to see her back again. It was just so exciting and thrilling. And I remember just since my kids have been born, so many of the things that I want to watch, I watch like alone after everyone else has gone to sleep. And I remember just like being in my den and just like pumping my fists in the air and doing quiet roars of delight at that occurrence. And then sort of to bookend her in the show, sort of, is the end of season 2 with the confrontation with Vader. I could not believe that this storyline happened in this show. Yeah. Like, I had a friend who for a while was telling me, you should watch Rebels. You should watch Rebels. Adam, the Coyote Collins of the Schmodown, Trivia Schmodown, if you're into that. And I didn't get into it right away and everything. He said, oh, you should watch it. You should watch it. Then when I finally did, I was like, I can't believe this Vader Ahsoka plotline is in this show. This is amazing. Yeah. And then the moment is when she, in the fight, she sort of gets a piece of his face with her lightsaber when he's trying to come at Kanan and Ezra, and she kind of cracks it on the side, and you see into his face, his eye, and a little bit of like his cheek. And there's a moment where kind of Anakin breaks through, and there's a little connection there of Anakin and Ahsoka. And she tries to connect with him and bring the Anakin out more, but he resists and very quickly it sort of reverts back to the Sith, the Vader, and saying, no, I'm going to kill you. Yeah. She says to him, I'm not going to leave you this time. Yeah. Well, he's still got a little bit of Anakin showing. And then he says, okay, well, then you will die, as he kind of, the Vader takes over again. And it's just that brilliant moment that connects like all the way to his version of redemption by Luke in Return of the Jedi. The connection he has with his son, the connection that he has with his apprentice is it's enough to give it a little bit, but doesn't completely break through in that moment, but just sort of like a foreshadowing of that there's still something there.
it's one of the coolest moments in all of Star Wars. Like you said, Luke, I was shocked when they initially said Ahsoka was coming. They revealed her. But for me, I was like, is this just going to be kind of like, they had episodes with Lando. They had episodes with Leia. I was like, is this just going to be something like that? I could not believe, like you said, what we got out of the Vader and Ahsoka story here. And you just assume, like, at that point, that's when everyone's saying, well, we know we don't see Ahsoka later on, so, like, this is not going to end well for her. But what they put into this scene was incredible. Just to start, I mean, there's a great fight sequence. Is it Malachor? Is that where we are? I think that's the yeah. Mm-hmm. There's great fight sequences there before all of this even happens, but when Vader comes down, and by the way, I'm chiming in so much because this was also in my top 3. Vader comes down on a TIE fighter, and he's not flying the damn thing. He's standing on top of it, and his cape is twirling behind him. I was like, oh my God, what an awesome entrance. Like, his opening in the beginning of season 2, I think, was freaking fantastic too. He has a AT-ST walker thrown on top of him, and I remember Kanan and Ezra were pumped, like, ha, well, that wasn't so bad. And then he freaking lifts the damn thing with the Force, and they're like, we're screwed. That was awesome, but when he comes down that TIE fighter, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is happening. And there's little nuggets too that they put in here. I don't know if James Earl Jones came back and did this specifically for Vader, but
yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
And they sort of pitched his voice a little higher, so he sounded like a younger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what they did do in that moment that Luke's talking about, when his mask is torn, they brought back Matt Lanter, who voiced Anakin in the Clone Wars. That little nugget, him saying Ahsoka, he says it a couple times. It's very clearly him as Anakin. You're like, oh my God, like, what is going to happen here? And he says Ahsoka a couple times, and like Luke said, he says, like, I'm not going to leave you this time. Like, I turned my back on you before, and look what you've become. I will not make that mistake again. And he says, then you're going to die.
I also I also want to say, I think this actually just came up in conversation in the group.
Yeah.
Because somebody analyzed, like, what they did with the imaging, and the creators did in that moment is that when she says, I'm not going to leave you, before he says, then you will die, there's a moment where they dilate his pupils, like when she says that like he's like recognizing her, and they give him a physical reaction, but you can only see it because his mask is cracked.
Yeah.
But they give him that physical reaction, and then his eyes get really like small again, and then, but like,
and this is another example of, like, I hope, when you think about the Kenobi show is going to have this, quote unquote rematch of Anakin, of Vader and Obi-Wan. And I think there's so much you can take from this moment of Rebels and say, like, if in Kenobi they capture something as good as this, or even close to as good as this, it's going to be well done. Absolutely. Because this moment is so well executed, so powerful between these two characters who have such a, like, intimate history and have some of the best moments in Clone Wars as well. That in Kenobi, if they can do something with Anakin Vader's relationship with Obi-Wan, that's 75% as good as this moment in Rebels, it will still be good.
And I feel like they will be. I mean, the original Anakin Obi-Wan fight in Revenge of the Sith was epic in its own way. The real tug at the heartstring stuff was there on that embankment, and I hate you. You were my brother. I loved you. I mean, that, I don't know if, I keep saying, I don't know if that could be topped in Star Wars. God, I think I just love Star Wars. I think I'm just a fan, guys. I think that's what's happening.
Love Star Wars?
I guess I just love it. But it was epic in its own way, right? Like, so much of the final third act is this confrontation, and it's so well choreographed. And what the television shows have done is they strip these fights down, like the Obi-Wan Maul, you know, this kind of mastery moment, and Ahsoka has it here too. Like I've grown past turning my back on those that I love. She was unfortunately, you know, really disappointed in how that turned out, but they are really breaking down these moments, and it's not so much about choreographed lightsaber fights, as awesome as they are. Like Maul and Ahsoka's and the end of Clone Wars was awesome. But it's these moments, it's these little nuggets that they have. And I can't imagine that Obi-Wan and Vader aren't going to have something like that, where we may see a lot of Ahsoka and Obi-Wan here, a hopeful, I see a glimpse of you in there. I know you're there. And he's going to be disappointed once again, and he's going to have to work past that, like Ahsoka had to work past that. He really is gone. And get to that point where Obi-Wan, you know, is telling Luke that, well, then I guess the Emperor's already won if you're not willing to go and confront him and kill him. So I don't think they're going to disappoint at all. They're going to have some time. It's not going to be some final third act of the show, but it's going to be, if they're going to do it, and they've said they're going to do it, it's going to be important. It's not just going to be some epic choreographed fight sequence. There's going to be more heart into it. And I can't believe what they did in that little, it's not a very long fight. But Ezra tries to intervene, and she uses the Force to push him out when the temple is closing, you know, saving those that she loves. But it's like, I'll be damned if I'm leaving Anakin again, even if she accepts it, even if it means my death. I'll die, you know, trying to save the ones that I loved. And that's what Anakin was doing. Just went down a different path. But it's just little nuggets like that. That's freaking fantastic. And it was a season finale too. So I was like, well, she's dead. Like you know, and then they find a way to bring her back in a really weird, awesome way. But then you look at what the Bendu said. Ollie, you brought up, like, I didn't say you were going to die. You were going to be different. Like, I mean, how could the Bendu even explain that to her? He couldn't. But what a crazy moment. That never, you know, there's so many great moments in Rebels, but that one, like, that's what I was saying. I feel bad almost bringing up these moments with the characters that, you know, come from other stories. And I feel like I neglect our crew a lot, but man, somehow they made these, they wove these stories in there. And I think that's why Clone Wars and Rebels complement each other so much. They feel like almost the same story. That moment, Holly, any other thoughts on the Ahsoka and Vader confrontation?
No, I don't think that I can follow up with anything else.
That's fair. What a great moment. Now I mentioned we'd throw in some honorable mentions, and I have quite a few. Holly, you said you had some more on your list. What else made your
we actually
mentions?
You guys covered some of the other ones I had on my list.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Luke, what else do you have? Any honorable mentions that didn't make your top three? I hate saying top three because it's difficult.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that none of us really had an Ezra moment as one of our top ones, and he's somewhat the main character of the show. And I think he does have a lot of great moments. But yeah, it's hard to pick out one in particular for me. I mean, his showdown with Palpatine in the season finale, I think, is really powerful, where he resists the temptation of Palpatine. That's a great moment. I think there's a lot that you can pull out from Ezra, and I don't want to go through the whole discussion without really giving him a little bit of props as a character. But and one of my only other ones in a comedy sense that I had jotted down was Hondo. Hondo has outstanding moments in the series, and what I specifically want to call out is his relationship with the Ugnaughts in the show, which I think there's an earlier episode, I don't know, season 2 or season 3, where they kind of connect with Hondo, and he's running this scheme where they're trying to like steal this stuff off of one ship and get it onto another ship, and he's got like this crew of Ugnaughts helping him out, and it's like you can tell the whole vibe is he like is exploiting the Ugnaughts. It doesn't really care about them. It's kind of the vibe that you get But then one is with him in the whole season finale, 2-episode part of the finale, and the Ugnaughts name is Melch, which is just a great little name. And you again think like, oh, he just brings this guy along to use him and doesn't really care about him. But then there's a moment where Melch gets shot by a stormtrooper, and Hondo is emotional and he cares for this Ugnaught. And there's a great moment that happens, in many other shows, to kind of like comedic effect or other movies, where it's like he thinks he's dead and he's starting to say all these nice things about Melch the Ugnaught and how much he cares about him. And, oh, what I would do if he was only alive. And then Melch kind of perks up and is like, oh, wait, I am. Go on. And then, he kind of cuts off. It's like, oh, yeah. Brings up the gruff exterior again. It's like, oh, no, I don't really care that much about you. I love, there's so many good Hondo moments in the series.
I'll never forget when Holly went back and watched the Clone Wars that she hadn't seen.
Oh, no way.
And was just like, is that Hondo? Like, because he's a real, he's a dick, but he's a real dick in the Clone Wars.
Oh my God. Yeah. I couldn't stand him in the Clone Wars awesome. Because I met him. Like my friend Hondo, that's going to be my new Star Wars podcast, my friend Hondo.
He wrote a memoir. Did you know that?
Shoot.
I'm kidding.
I love memoirs.
I know you do.
Does he narrate the audiobook?
Can you imagine? No, that's
the audio, the hollow.
Not even close.
Okay. Anyway, not even close. Anyway, Hondo, Luke, that's great because Hondo is great. My favorite things that Hondo does is when he really screws everybody over, and then he'll show up again and he'll be like, my friends, my good dear friends.
Anything to survive.
But people just like let him do it.
They do.
They're just like, oh, it's Hondo being Hondo.
They don't really see him as a threat, even though
he's pretty serious.
Hondo knows some shit.
Also, can I just say Hondo was fine in Rebels, very funny, not super intimidating because of the comedy that they gave him.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying in the Clone Wars, like really scary stuff. But freaking seeing his type of people that in The Mandalorian, I'm pretty sure there's an episode with The Mandalorian where there are pirates like him. Yeah, that is like the thing of nightmares.
Absolutely.
So I can't imagine that you would go to like Disney or like Star Wars weekends and see someone dressed up like Hondo, because that would be freaking terrifying.
Well, they actually in the new Star Wars area have an animatronic of him.
What?
Yeah, he's like the host of the Millennium Falcon ride.
Yeah.
At Galaxy's Edge.
No, he doesn't.
There's a full animatronic.
Oh my God, I could never go on it. Actually, probably. I bet he's really funny because
it looks pretty legit from the videos I've seen. I obviously haven't went on the ride, but when they were making it, they showed.
When I was watching Rebels, I like never in my life thought that he would be that terrible in the Clone Wars, because I only have like Rebels Hondo in the back of my mind, and then seeing the pirates in The Mandalorian, I was like, no freaking way.
He's kind of a dick. Luke, you mentioned, we really need some Ezra love, and I agree. And some of my honorable mentions were really great moments of his. You mentioned him seeing his parents in the temple. I thought I definitely cried on that one. I was like, man, this kid has this opportunity. His entire mission really was, to save his planet, but like to find answers about his parents. And then he's given this opportunity, very much like Luke Skywalker, taking an easy way out, getting what you seek, and rejects it. And then as he's rejecting it and Palpatine is freaking out, you realize it's not some illusion that Palpatine was creating, because his parents, as they're leaving him, say, we love you, we always will love you. Like, you're making the right choice. What? The whole time I'm sitting here thinking this is Palpatine's just playing games with him, which he was a little bit, but like, he talked to his parents, and his parents knew he was making the right choice, and they affirmed that for him. It was a very touching moment for Ezra. And then in the world between worlds, he saved Ahsoka, and now he has this power. I could save Kanan.
Oh God. Yeah.
We have to watch Kanan die all over again. Yes. But like he has that moment, and but then he starts thinking about like, what would my master do? Like, like he made this sacrifice. What would that be for? There's a purpose behind all of this. And it's just like he's given these opportunities, even with Maul too. You could be my apprentice. Like, yeah, there's this power. He rejects that too. There's moments where Ezra really looks like he could turn to the dark side at any second, and he doesn't. He's tested more than Luke Skywalker ever was. And I freaking love Luke Skywalker. He's my favorite character. But, man, Ezra was tested. He was tested with less training. And he just rose to the occasion every freaking time. Here's a couple of strange ones I want to throw out at you guys. I mean, they're not that strange, but the Grand Inquisitor's death. It was pretty crazy when it first aired. But after we saw the Grand Inquisitor in the comic book and what he had become after his death, he's just kind of like, remember how in this purgatory, like of hell, it seemed he was trapped on his Jedi temple.
Vaguely remember that.
It just made the moment that much more crazy for me. As he's about to jump to his death, he just like, I mean, I can't remember the actor's name now. We gushed over him. I can't remember who played the Grand Inquisitor. But he says there are some things far more frightening than death. And he kind of just almost like jumps to his death. And it seems like they're foreshadowing to Vader, because we ultimately, after season 1, then we get Vader and the confrontation and how crazy he is. But then we find out what really has happened to the Grand Inquisitor, and it's like super sad. Like, there was no relief in death for him. This wasn't what he seemed to even expect what would become of him. And it's just a tragedy. I don't know why I feel so bad for the villains all the time.
See, that's how I felt about Maul.
Ridiculous.
It's sad because you have a heart.
I know.
Compassion.
I mentioned Vader when he comes to Lothal. I thought I could not believe the beginning of season 2. I was like, oh my God, like Rebels just elevated. Like that was a different level. I also had the Zen and Callus on the moon of Geonosis. I thought that was amazing. And AP5 in space.
I thought that Luke was going to bring that one up.
I did too. It was a quirky moment, but like, who knew we would all love it so much? Like after the, I think in the beginning I probably found it annoying. I was like, "What the hell is going on?" And every time I've watched it since, I'm like, "What a great quirky moment!"
Yeah.
For a droid again. It's not these deep, compassionate moments, but it's like, what is this particular droid just wants peace.
Leave me alone.
Like, and Luke, I mean, it didn't make the list. Why not?
No, it is one of my favorite moments, and I think it is a divisive moment. I feel like it's a moment that you either love or you hate. But yeah, AP5, this droid that is so just so can't stand sort of everyone around him and everything that's expected of him as a droid, and what that he would prefer to float in oblivion than have to just go about his droidly duties and interact with other people and other droids and things. That is like bliss to him, to just float in the void of space until his power source would run out. And then how sad he is sort of when they come back and pick him up and don't let him just float off into
the disappointment.
Space. I know you think they're doing him a favor, and he's just like, no, leave me. Like, oh my, you're right. It made for a great comedic moment, but you feel bad for him. Like, he's just, I mean, he has moments where he kind of bonds with the team, but like, ultimately, he's just one of those droids that finds them far inferior and like just doesn't want anything to do with people. But God, what a moment.
That's so funny.
Purgles are another moment that I think kind of have just
I've Ezra and the animal, like his charisma and connection was really cool.
There's moments with the wolves and stuff that are really deep, that you see him forming this bond, and it's, a lot of it's really his old master.
I was gonna say.
It's great. And Rebels, yeah, it's so unique. That's something that we never, you tend to take those creatures for granted. I mean, I just think of a lot of Clone Wars, like needlessly killing a lot of animals.
I know, that bothered me.
And it happens, like you see it throughout Star Wars, but Rebels really got you in tune with like the nature side of Star Wars and how these humans and these Force users really can get in tune with them, and they can be useful allies, and we can learn a lot from them.
A galactic war is definitely an environmental disaster on every planet.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think Star Wars could use more of that. I think that's a nice way to show our youth that, like, you know, our choices have consequences, and it's not just us here. Yeah, they could do just a whole series about the creatures.
I think that would be really fantastic.
I do too.
I think they have some like there's some books about just like the creatures, but I don't know that you necessarily like it gives you any like, I think it's just like informational.
Definitely. Yeah. But we could use more of it. Guys, let us know what did you love about Rebels? What were some of your top moments? I'm sure this will cause some discussion on the Facebook group, and we mention these moments a lot in the podcast, but really when you force yourself to sit and think about Rebels, man, it is one of the best Star Wars stories that exist. And I can't even imagine if that show is coming out right now on Disney Plus, and just the reach that platform has. It was a game changer on the Disney Channel at 10 p.m. on freaking Thursdays or whatever the hell it was. But just like now, it's just it's I don't know. It set a bar for the animated stuff. And so I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, is the Bad Batch going to be that type of series for us, or for you guys? Like, I'm curious to see where we're going with that, but Rebels, guys, it takes the cake.
For sure.
If you don't, I think, you know, Luke kind of mentioned this earlier, if you don't really take the cartoon seriously or think this is just kid stuff, it really isn't. It is some of the best storytelling and some of the finest moments in all of Star Wars, some of the most touching moments. It really gave us the time to get to know and understand these characters and all their faults, and it's about family. It's another story about family, and that's why, a huge reason why I come to Star Wars, animated or not. Stories of family tend to get me really good. Deep. I don't know. Phrasing galore.
Phrasing.
But guys, I want to know what you think about Rebels. Let's get the conversation going in the Facebook group. We will be back next week, promise. I know this episode is a little late, later than usual, but we will be back next week for another episode. Only 2 more weeks to go for the Bad Batch. We're going to get Holly reading The Light of the Jedi, and if she reads it this week, hell, Holly, we may talk about it next week.
We might.
All right, you just finish up that Mindy Kaling book, and then we'll be all over it. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, let us know what you think about Rebels. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, give us, you know, a 5-star rating wherever you can on Apple Podcasts. That would be much appreciated. No Rebels hate. Can't say that on the reviews. No Rebels hate here.
Certainly not.
That is for sure. But check us out on YouTube if you prefer a long video format as well. Like the videos there and subscribe if you will. And that's all, guys. We appreciate you. We love you. And may the Force be with you always.